Here we
Right.
go. Hey,
Back again?
everybody. Welcome to another week of Ryan and Rodrigo. And this week, we're really lucky to be joined all the way from Prince Edward Island, right, Rusty?
Yep,
And
PEI.
with our old friend Rusty here. And some of you might remember him because he had a really famous bar in Santo Andre, the Little Igloo. And it was always fun to go down there, grab a beer. And I even have a beer today to share with Rusty. So cheers.
I have one
Cheers,
as well.
buddy.
Share with you. A Moose
Oh,
Head
that's
Light.
coffee.
You're drinking pineapple juice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically is. Um, but the first thing I want to ask you, Rusty, is about your nickname, Rusty. Like, I doubt that your parents named you Rusty, right? So, like, where
No,
did the nickname Rusty come from? Is that just like
nickname
something?
Rusty came from Japan.
Yeah.
When I lived in Japan for about 16 years. And my first year there, I worked at a small bar. And the owner of the bar, he was having difficulty saying hus, lus. And one guy came down from Canada. He lived above the bar. His name was Mark. And he came down one day and he said my voice was because I had some drinks the night before, so I had a kind of a rusty, rough voice. And he started calling me Rusty. And the owner of the bar said, "Yeah, Rusty, that's a great name," because he was a surfer and from the Rusty Surfer brand. And he made up some business cards with my name Rusty on it. And so the first kind of 2 weeks in Japan, I had this business card with my name Rusty on it. I just started handing them out. People would just call me Rusty, and I said, whatever, it's Rusty. My friends here in Canada call me Russ, or by my last name, Colson.
All right. Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
You have a little story to go with your nickname. That's nice.
Yeah, so yeah, my parents did not decide to call me Rusty.
And you said you lived in Japan. Was that the first place that you moved to out of Canada?
Yeah, I went there to teach English as a second language in the university I was at. They had some little tags on a bulletin board saying, "Go to Asia, make money." And I thought, well, go check it out. And I went there and just thought for 1 year, like a working holiday visa, but ended up staying a lot longer.
I'm trying to do the math here, Rusty. And I don't mean to be rude or anything, but 16 years in Japan, you've lived in Australia and Brazil, and now it's been like 2 or 3 in Canada. Okay.
Well,
You're,
yeah,
you're,
I left home when I was 23 and a half, and it's kind of like been a journey. It's 24 years later. I'm telling my friends, I'm meeting my old friends back there. I'm like, yeah, I've been away for 24 years. Really? I mean, I would come home once in a while, like visit for a week or 2 weeks, like that during the years. There was some points during the travel that I was away for 4 years without coming home. There was some long stints without seeing my family and friends. But yeah, eventually, the heart brought me back home. I really missed the island, and I have two young children, and I wanted to be close to my family. So we spent 9 years in Brazil. I gave a nice shot down there with hanging with my wife's family and stuff. So I asked my wife to do the same here. We'll see after 9 years where we'll go from here.
Wow.
you spent 9 years in Brazil.
Yeah, it was
Oh, okay. I thought it was a little less. Well, that's a long time in Brazil. Okay.
yeah. Prior to the Igloo, where I met you guys, I
Yeah.
for a while, like 4 years. I was my 4th year in, and then the Igloo was 4 years.
Bravo.
And then I was in and out a lot with my job too. I had gotten that job there, selling ice cream machines.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
You've traveled America, right, doing that?
yeah, they have a sister company in Miami, but did a lot of trade shows in the U.S., mainly Chicago, and then we started going like all over, like trade shows worldwide. So it's Australia, Turkey, Russia, Italy, a lot of shows in Italy. So yeah, did traveling from Brazil to other countries.
Okay. Just one question about your, I don't know, the beginning of that journey. What was your education, or what? How did you end up in Japan? You said you went there to teach English, right? At
Yeah,
first.
actually, the girl I was dating at the time, she was in the education program. She actually wanted to become a teacher. I was in the arts program, major in psychology, and I was already working. I was working in a hospital. I worked in a prison for a little bit, and and she wanted to take 1 year off, like defer a year. So she also had seen the notes about make money in Japan, and we decided together, hey, let's go there. So we looked into it, getting the working holiday visa, and we arrived there together. And within one day, we both got teaching jobs, and I also got a job in that bar that I mentioned in the evenings. And we were there about 12 days, and it was the big earthquake that happened in Hanshin in 1995, January. So we were there during that, so it was very, we'd never experienced earthquakes before, so we ended up going our separate ways after a few months. You know, sometimes they say travel will make you or break you. We had been together for 3 years prior to that. This traveling really made us realize who we were, and struggling and stress and things, I guess, didn't work well with us. We went our separate ways, and I had to find a place to live, so I moved in with some Australians, and that's what brought me to Australia. After the 1 year in Japan, my time was finishing there, and I thought, well, they had told me about a working holiday to Australia, and I looked about it, and I took off down there for a year, but I ended up staying 2. And on my way back, I stopped in Japan, and that's when I got into the bar business, and I also had my teaching job that got me my work visa, and I was able to stay.
Similar story to Brazil. You were teaching, and you had your bar business.
I wasn't, when I went to Brazil, I was never planning to open a bar.
Okay.
I actually didn't know what I was going to do when I got to Brazil. I imagined I would be teaching English, as that would be the first thing I could go to, and I found out that it was, quite lucrative to teach there, and it was in high demand, especially for foreigners. Like, they really wanted to have just conversations, basically, or talk about their experiences traveling abroad. And so I had, my schedule was full. I was teaching 6 days a week, and set up in France Cafe sometimes for 3 or 4 hours. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed teaching English there, especially the Brazilian people, because they're great conversationalists and have a lot to say, as opposed to my Japanese friends, who are very quite conservative, and they don't say too much. It's usually one word answers, and the conversation doesn't flow as much as when I was down in Brazil.
So were the classes in Japan?
I should get in the bar business.
Were the classes when you were teaching in Japan, were they more like structured, more? What was the difference between teaching Japanese students and teaching?
Well, in Japan, I worked
Brazilian?
at an OEC. It was called like an English language center. So they did have a kind of a structured platform that we had to follow through. We did do some online courses as well, like even back then in the early 90s, they were well into this type of teaching. Like, we are doing Zoom right now, but they had the screen cut in 4, and we were teaching students who were in different regions of Japan, not necessarily in Osaka. So I worked there, and I worked at a conversation school, and then I got a job that was full-time at a small English school called A to Z. It was just really just basically people that lived in the local community that I was teaching at. There was about 22 children. So it was morning classes, and then in the afternoon, like, the teenagers would finish school, and we'd have those. And then we had some adults in the evening that wanted just private classes. So that was like Monday to Friday, mostly conversation English, but there depends what schools you went to. Like, your English learning centers, it was very structured, depends what kind of courses they have: business English and travel English and English for fun.
Mm-hmm.
But in Brazil, I just strictly did privates. I didn't work at a school. And then my friend Eric and I, we started up 1 year. We did the podcast for 1 year, and we taught a little bit during that time. And that's when I had met the gentleman that I started to work for the ice cream manufacturing company. And when I started working for him, it was like my English classes had gotten that. It was full-time sales. So I did that for quite some time. 4 years there and 1 year in the U.S.
And you spent a long time in Japan, like 16 years, right? So did you notice any changes in Japan over that time? Any changes in society and the culture and people?
Oh yeah. I mean, especially the younger generation that traveled a lot. They went overseas, and when they came back, they thought differently, like outside the box, as opposed to being following the Japanese rule of law. And they kind of went off on their own a little bit. They like to change. They want it to be different, and stand out, especially when they travel to different countries. A lot of them want to leave and study abroad and stuff. But the fact of like many changes in Japan, other than that, I mean, the places where I lived were in the cities, and it's pretty much it was all the same, like just go go go. Lots of people traveling and business, and I got involved a lot. And once I started in the bar business there, I think after my 4th year, I stopped teaching English and I was just full time running bars, and then eventually I had my own bar.
Now about the bar thing, you explained the difference between classes in Brazil and classes in Japan. What about the bar owning business in Japan and Brazil? Because
they're a little bit similar. I mean, Japan, the parties really go long. Like Japanese people really let loose. Like as opposed to what people imagine the Japanese being very conservative. But in Japan, like it gets pretty wild there. Like when they let their hair down, and after work, people like to pound back the drinks and have a good time and be loud. And I think it's a place
in Japan,
release some stress and get yeah. I was surprised too, but it's still at the same time being very respectful about where they're at and never causing any trouble or that way. I never seen a fight in my whole time in Japan, other than when foreigners would arrive and amongst themselves. But the Japanese themselves are never any problems there.
Did
the
they
bar business
streak in Japan?
Excuse me?
Did they streak in Japan?
Yeah, they did. Oh, yeah, I saw a lot of that. I did see
All right.
People jumping up in the bar and doing that kind of behavior for sure.
Who would you say parties harder, the Japanese or the Brazilians? Who are the harder partiers?
I'd say Japanese, yeah.
Oh my God, Jesus! I would never guess.
I was surprised too when I went to Brazil. Eric, my friend, and I, Eric from California, like we go out a lot together in the downtown São Paulo area, and we'd be like, Brazilians very like I would imagine they'd just be nuts, but they're conservative. I thought, like as far as they're like kind of reserved about like not pounding back drinks like Japanese, like doing so much shooters and shots and whiskey and just like they do drinking. Like, come on, drink. I had the bar. I didn't see people getting too out of control with alcohol there. When I had the bar down on Santander.
And you've taught and you've had a bar. Like, do you think that those things are related? Like the skills it takes to teach, the skills it takes to bartend?
Especially with conversational English. I mean, people are more relaxed. Like a lot of my classes sometimes were not in a classroom setting, where they sometimes I would teach a class called Walk and Talk, which was in the park. I had a couple of guys that participated in that. We would just walk for 1 hour, like in the park.
I remember that.
For an hour, and I felt like as he was walking a little bit, the stress was coming out and releasing some endorphins or something, and he just opened up more and he would talk and feel more relaxed, and we'd have these great conversations. And I guess the same way with having a drink and one drink or something after a happy hour. Like a lot of students are always like, hey, teacher, let's go for a happy hour. And of course, we would be speaking English the whole entire time. So, that's when my wife had mentioned you should open a bar. And I said, you know what, I'm going to combine the two. I always do these happy hours with the students. I might as well just have them under one roof. And whoever was coming in the bar, I would be able to. Yeah, it was not like that thinking the bars I had in Japan, because we had so many foreign people there from all over the world. So it was not like the theme of the bar was never English related, even though they were called gaijin bars, like English bars. But I'm sure Japanese people went there to meet foreigners to practice their English, but that was never the reason to open the bars in Japan. But the one in the Santander, I specifically wrote on the sign, English chat bar. Like, just come on in and have a chat. Now, I'm not going to give you an English lesson here, but it's going to be a chat, like a small talk.
And did you meet you said that you and your wife had the idea for the bar, right? For Little Igloo. Did you meet her in Brazil? Did you meet her in Japan? I remember.
I had a bar in Japan, and I had a Brazilian friend. He was from Porto Alegre, and he had been living in Japan. Actually, the first Brazilian person I ever met was there, and his name was Carlos. And we became friends, and he didn't speak any English, and I, of course, he speak Portuguese, so we communicated, and his Japanese was really, really good at the time. He had been living there for many years, so that was the only way we could communicate, and words and kind of sign language, and we just did our best. But I just liked his energy, and he always would call me and say a few words, and I understood that he wanted to meet at a certain time, so we'd go have a drink, and yeah, so we became friends. And when it was like a Brazilian show of girls and guys and bands that would come, like they would do a show, and a lot of Japanese would go watch the show, and it was like all music of Brazil and dances of Brazil. So it was like a dinner theater kind of thing, and they would change costumes and come out on stage. It's like an hour and a half ordeal. So every 6 months, new Brazilians would come and for the show, because the show was continuing all year long. And I met, he would always be kind of the go-to guy at Osago. He kind of meet them and take them around, show them everywhere, and like take them out on the weekends and stuff. And he brought in the girls one night to my bar. One of the girls was my wife. We had met that night. And then again, meeting another time 9 years later, she not knowing I was still in Japan, and I was like, wow, I haven't seen you in 9 years. How you doing?
Well, that was
So
that was
you met her a
clearly
second
destined.
time. You like reconnected 9 years later.
Well, we met once, and we saw each other. Hey, we connected somehow, and again, her English was really well. She spoke really well. She had lived in different countries, and she was self-taught. We went out to dinner, him with the girl he's currently married to, and it was like kind of a double date. And at the time, none of us were together. And the next day she was gone. She was like, oh, we went and had that dinner together. I walked her back to her house. Nice to meet you. FaceTime or Facebook back then, and I just went our separate ways and kind of forgot each other, I imagine. And then 9 years later, she decided to come back and do the show again one last time, and she, not knowing I was still in Japan, saw me. I saw her. Oh, how long are you here for? She's like 6 months. I'm like, let's continue on where we left off.
It
Yeah. Let's
really
have
is
some
a small
babies.
world, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it was. She was just as surprised as I was. She thought, oh, I imagine you would have been married or not even living here still. You're still doing the bar business. And nothing's changed. I'm still here. Yeah,
and so she was the reason that you decided to move to Brazil? Is that the reason that you ended up going to?
Yeah, that's the reason why she left and went. And again, I was at the point thinking, you know what, I'm not going to see this girl again. Like, we can probably keep in touch over mails and stuff, but we're not going to see each other face to face. And unless I want to make an effort and let's make this happen. So I said, you know what, I'm going to go down to Brazil and visit you. So she said, yes, it'd be great. And she received me at the airport, her house. We went to Rio, around. I probably got the best tour, all the great places. Like, oh, Brazil's amazing, and that was great, And I did the same for her. I said, hey, you know what? I went back to Japan. I said, hey, I'd like to invite you to meet my family and friends in Prince Island. And then she flew here. We went around. That's when I proposed to her here, and we decided to. Well, I had to go back to Japan and her back to Brazil, but we decided to get married. We were going to originally move to Canada straight away, but I said, no, I'm fine to give Brazil a shot because she's very close to her family. And well, let's see, let's go. So I went down there 9 years. Loved it.
Now, you spent. I remember one funny story that I have to tell you. I don't know if you remember that or if you're aware of that. But you're the first. You told me that either you or your first girlfriend majored in psychology, right? Was it you?
Yeah.
Okay. So and that's very how can I say? That and the bar business and teaching, it's all connected, right? Psychology and talking to people and helping people. And the funny story is that you were the first person in the world to ever know that I was going to be a father, other than myself. I don't know if you remember that. At the bar,
Yeah.
I was at the bar and I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what to feel, and then I said, Rusty, I guess I'm going to become I guess I'm a father. And you rang the bell. I said, no, shh. No, no, no. I'm not sure yet. Please keep it down. And so um, that's do you think that like do you make some connection between all that psychology bar teaching? Do you
I
how
would have
much do
guessed.
you like people?
I never practiced any psychology or anything with any. Like I just took an arts course at university with that. I never worked in a clinic, and I was in a prison, working in prison, and I worked at an instant a hospital here in Summerside, Charlottetown, sorry, in the city, and it like pretty much right after I was in Japan. So
Okay, but all your choices are
I
related
never
to.
practiced anything, but I think the biggest thing was just having a high sense of toleration. I think people being like, it takes a lot of toleration, especially in the bar business too. Like you know, you have all kinds of people coming in, and in the teaching too. Like you have to be patient, and people are learning a new language, and you have to take it down a level and understand where the people are coming from. But yeah, I'm sure everything together, the background helped a lot, I guess.
And I remember you as a bar owner, you were very relaxed. Like I remember we were at the bar, and I wasn't like we knew each other for maybe 2 months, and you said, well, Rodrigo, I need to go to the bakery to get something to eat. Can you just take care of the bar for me for 10 minutes? And I said, sure. Yeah, fine.
Yeah, that was
No
great.
problem.
I mean, I think that too, coming from Japan, I was really trusting there because Japan was such, just
Yeah,
never
that was my
worked.
question. That's like this is the way here. Like Japan is very safe, very secure, and
Yeah, it was. I never ever felt any type of fear there. And I never felt it in Brazil, even though it was there and I heard about it, or if I turned the TV on, I might see it, but myself witnessing it, but
and nothing ever really happened here, right?
not to me, but I mean, I had family members that had terrible things happen to them. And I know I was very aware of that situation, but when I first moved there, I was kind of still in Japan mode where we'd stop at an intersection and my wife was putting the window up. I'm like, what's going on? Like, really? Like, yeah, be careful here. The windows are down. People can come in, grab, or I'd leave my phone on the table when I go to the bathroom. With things like that, I would never even think that would be a problem. But, after a few weeks there, I would realize, oh, yeah, you have to be aware of your surroundings. Like any country you go through, you just pay attention.
Okay.
But being in Japan, you leave your guard down because it was over the top safe and over the top, like, in situations where you would lose a wallet in a city of, 16 million people, never expecting to find it again, but someone tell you, yeah, just go to your local police station. I'm sure someone turned it in. Really? So I went there, and the guys are like, oh, yeah, like they see your face. Yeah, it's you, yeah, some lady found it on the street. Like, at this place, it must have fell out of your pocket. And she went out of her way, like, to bring it here, because that's what you do there. You find
And
something
everything was still in the wallet, right? Whatever you
everything
had
was
in
still
the
there, not a cent
there.
gone, and just I was just worried about the cards and stuff. Everything was there. Even like losing a house key, like one key, like that was the last key I had. I was like, I'm gonna check if it was there, and it was there. Someone found it and brought it to the police station. Like, you might find something. Like, oh, it's just a key for the garbage. You gotta bring it to the. That's what you have to do. You gotta bring it to the police station, your local.
That happened to me in Brazil. I lost a wallet. I lost my wallet, and some guy found it, and he took it to my house, and I said, "Really?" But everything was gone. just the yeah. He gave me back the wallet and my documents, but all the 12 reais I had it in the wallet were gone.
Still lucky to get your wallet back, but stuff in.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, no, it was. Yeah, I never had like. I really enjoyed Brazil and the people that where I lived, on the street that I worked on and around the area. Like I got to know a lot of the locals, and maybe I was lucky. I don't know. Some police officers too would like kind of swing by sometimes, and say hello, or I just felt. Yeah, we did. We did have like some guys that drove motorbikes on the street that we would pay like a small amount of security if we needed them. We could call them and they would help close the bar, but I never had to call them because when I closed the bar, there was always like 20 people that I had to say, guys, I got to work tomorrow. I got to go home. And they'd be all in the front. So I'd never be closing the bar by myself in the middle of the night. It was always 10 or 12 guys there asking for one more beer. I'd come back the next day and the empties were all in front of the door. They had just left them there because they probably continued on talking for a little bit of time as I biked away.
And what are some, like we talked about some differences between Japan and Brazil right now. What are some things that have been the same between all of the places that you've lived? It doesn't matter if you're Canadian or Japanese or Australian or Brazilian. What are some things that you've noticed everyone is really the same for?
Yeah, everybody's like, I mean, everyone's busy in the cities. Everybody's on their phones and everybody's, doing their thing. And I like,
People are people everywhere, right?
yeah, people like here. I'm back in the island. It's a quiet place. There's no traffic or anything. But when I was a kid, you would see. I was telling my children, like, I would go outside and my mother would be calling me, come in. And I'd say, 5 more minutes. I just want to be outside 5 more minutes. But now I'm like, guys, come outside. And they're like, oh, I just want to watch this on my tablet, or I'm just 5 more minutes for this technology. I want to be here. I was like, no, we're supposed to be outside playing, getting dirty, rolling around. And I find it, and I look around and there's kids around here, but you don't see a lot of kids outside. And it's not because it's dangerous or anything. It's just that they want to be in their little bubbles and playing around. And I saw that in Japan. I used to teach some mothers, and they were worried about their children. Oh, my son, he's in his room and he's on the computer all the time. And he doesn't want to come out and socialize with the other children. And I felt like that's the same all over the world, I guess, because I thought when I moved home, I was quite surprised that my friends' kids, yeah, they're all the same, man. They're all hooked on their phones and computers and tablets.
Now tell me something. Tell me something, Rusty. I noticed you're outside and you're not wearing a mask. And
what?
You're outside and you're not wearing your mask, your coronavirus mask.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
We don't have to wear it. We actually don't have it to wear it inside anywhere yet, but in some places in Canada it's mandatory. In Quebec, Ontario, because you have some cases there. We just had something that they call the Atlantic Canada bubble, and they just opened it. We're an island, so we opened up the bridge 2 days ago, and we had our first 2 cases. Well, we had some travel-related cases that people had traveled home from other countries, but they self-isolated and they went through their days and the cases went away. So we've been at 0 for a long time on the island. However, other parts of Canada are, still going up and down. And so now we opened up the other provinces of Atlantic Canada to enable them to travel in and out of their countries without self-isolating, because they're all down to low numbers or 0. But I heard yesterday there was 2 or 3 cases that sprung up. But yeah, maybe down the road we will have to wear masks when we go out, I'm sure. And what about Brazil? Are they enforcing that everywhere?
So the situation here is weird. Okay, it's complicated because about 1,000 people are dying every day. They enforced, like governors and mayors enforced the use of the use of masks outside and in public places. And the president yesterday, he made it like I don't even know a verb for that, but he took it down. He took that law or enforcement down, and he said no, people in churches and other 2 places and public places, some public places you don't have to wear a mask anymore. So over here it's like a fight, it's like a competition, the president against the governors, and nobody knows what's going on really.
It's definitely different times here and all over the world. Yeah, everybody's saying about the new normal and all these kinds of terms. And I mean, being on an island, we're kind of lucky because we can always close a bridge or we can close the airport. But that also hurts us financially. Like, we're a big tourist island, so without the tourism, we used to get like anywhere between 20 to 30 cruise ships during the summer coming here. There are no cruise ships this year, so that's a big hurt for a lot of businesses, hotels, Airbnbs, things like that. And yeah, the government's helping out as much as they can. A lot of people are not working right now. It's a lot of unemployment. It's the same in Brazil and U.S.
What are you doing now? What work are you into these days?
My first job I got when I first moved back to Canada, it was at a government called it's a tax center where they have about 600 employees, and I managed a small, well, small, but a kitchen cafeteria where workers would come in and they could eat, grab things on the go and eat. And it was myself and 4 ladies, a small crew, and we ran this cafeteria. And then I left there and I went to work for Pepsi, and in the snacks. So I'm a chip man. I deliver chips. So I haven't stopped working, especially during this, because chips are in demand.
You deliver to like stores or to businesses, to their vending?
Yeah, both deliver? Big stores and also like gas stations and small places and everywhere. So when this first started, I was going to a lot of small places and stuff. It was kind of scary because we had, we didn't know how serious this was. So we had gloves and everything, and I was like in public, I thought, oh man, so I'm out there. So I come home, strip down, go take a shower, throw all my clothes in the washing machine, and then go hug my kids. It was heavy. But as it went on, and it got a little more relaxed. And now we have to be aware again. More people are coming in, and chances are it would start up again. And they're always talking about the second wave. But yeah, we've worked straight through. We're essential workers. So anybody that's delivering food or drinks or any type of pharmaceuticals, all the pharmacies are open. So we continued working straight through if everything changes.
Now, what about your wife? When you went back to Canada, I remember she worked. Well, she always worked, right? And when she went back to Canada, was she able to find a job there? Did you help?
It wasn't so easy. There's jobs here, but I mean, depends what you want to do. And I was happy that she could stay home with the kids because childcare is not free here. I mean, you got to pay, and it can be pricey. So sometimes you'll just be working as a parent. One of the parents would just be paying the childcare. So I'm like, well, why work and just pay? Why work and just pay you can be home with them instead of us putting them in some place and another person taking care of them. You could do it, be home, and if you're only going to work 40 hours a week, and after paying childcare, having just $200 left over, like, stay home. But she took over my old job at the tax center. They called me after I left there, and they're like, "Oh, would you like to come back?" And I was like, "No, actually, I'm pretty happy where I'm at now." Money was a lot better. And they said, "Oh, we're really looking for somebody we can't find." I said, "Well, yeah, I can put you in, but I don't know what you want to do." She said, "Yeah." So she started there, but when the COVID came, that building's totally shut down because they're government, so they're not going to open probably again until they have a vaccine, like full force. And without being full force, there's no reason to have the cafeteria open. Like, not enough people there to serve.
Okay, now let me get back a moment. You said that I remember your friend Eric is from California, right? And
yeah, he lives in São Paulo.
He still lives over here.
Yeah. I think he's been there. We've been there around we both arrived. I think I arrived like 6 or 7 months prior to him, and we didn't see each other very much the first couple of years, like just because his wife and my wife were friends through work. So a few weddings, we would run into each other, and we'd just be talking. And then we started hanging out on Friday nights, just like having a happy hour, just to catch up and blow off some steam. And then we decided to do it was like English SP podcasts. We had a little office in not Oscar Ferry, but up there. I forget the name. I'm trying to remember the part of the town where the bars are all up in the main street there.
On Augusta.
Yeah. We had a little place we used to call it the lighter side, because then they have where it's calm and there's nice stores. And then they'd call the other side, "Oh, welcome to the dark side." Yeah. And I was like, "Oh, you're going to a lot of bars, like a lot of parties, like basically."
The interesting side.
Yeah, and we'd do our little podcast, and we'd kind of walk down there to have a few drinks and eat hot dogs, and hang out on the street. That was fun. Yeah, we had a little tiny office in a little garden place.
With Two Gringos, right? Something like that. The name of
it was Two Gringos. It was called Two Gringos. We did that for a year. It was fun, but then we weren't making any money. We weren't losing money, but we weren't making any, and it was
so you're not like Ryan and I. Ryan and I are making tons of money out of this podcast, and as soon as the money for this episode starts coming in, we'll send you some, okay?
Yeah, no, it was fun, but I think both of our wives are like, yeah, you guys got to pull blood because we were having too much fun on Friday. Friday turned into a little bit of an
Your
episode.
experience sounds a lot like the school experience for Rodrigo and I. Like
Exactly.
we didn't lose a ton of money, right? But we also didn't make any
Oh,
money. But we spent a lot of time. Like
yeah.
Yeah, that
it
was
was
the thing
just
too.
running in place to not make any money.
Yeah, and that's what it was. We're like, guys, you're spending a lot of time, and what are you doing there, really? Like, how many people are into it? And we had a few classes, and we had some ideas where it was before the Olympics, so we did approach a few restaurants to help them design, because we would read what they had written down for an English menu, and it wasn't very appetizing. So we'd go, hey, let us correct that, or edit it, or make it sound more, delicious or edible. We had a couple restaurants we had. We started thinking like, maybe we can get into this. But I think he's doing well. He does a lot of voiceovers and things like that. We had done a few of those too, but he's doing it full time. I think just voiceovers and stuff. So he really got into that. He works.
Also, if they needed a voiceover with an Edward, what is the name? Prince Edward Island accent. They called Rusty, right?
No, I don't know. I did a couple of voiceovers there.
Okay.
It was fun. I just you're in the sound booth and you're telling someone kind of managing you how to change your voice or escalate it at certain points. And there might be a video you're following along. It was interesting. I did a few of those when I first moved there.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Sadly, we had a technical difficulty, maybe because Rusty lives so far away in the remote and amazing land of Prince Edward Island in Canada that they only have 45 minutes of internet at a time there. And so he used all of his internet for the day, and we just can't record the second part of the interview. Did you have anything else you wanted to say to finish our interview with Rusty Rodrigo before we sign off for the day?
No, I just think the island where he lives in is so far away from everything else that internet only works there for like every other day for an hour, and that was it. So, but I'm gonna ask him to confirm that. Okay. No, all jokes aside, it was really nice to see him again. Really, really nice because for I guess 3 years, I don't remember how long, he's been he's been part of my life and our lives. We had an event there every month or every week. I don't know, every month, right? English
Every
Night
month.
Out.
Yeah, we tried for almost a year, right? To have a
English Night
monthly
Out, right? English Night Out. Yeah. As he would say, Rusty would say it. So it was amazing, Rusty. I just want to clarify to everybody that Rusty, he went back to Canada with his family, and he sold the bar. Then the bar became bigger. Then he sold the bar. Now there's another bar at the same place. Well, now the Corona was closed, but it's the same owner that bought from Rusty. It's a great bar called Ubico Torto, and everybody should go there because it's still a great bar. And that's it. Just so everybody know a little about the story of the place. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And well, now the bar is not English oriented anymore. It's not English themed bar, but the owner speaks very good English, so you can go there and practice English with the owner if you want, if you'd like, right?
Yeah. So hopefully we can do that soon. Hopefully the coronavirus goes away and we can all go enjoy a nice beer at the former Little Igloo.
Yes, exactly, and elsewhere because this has been crazy.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, I think that's it.
Great. Well, thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you all next time. Later.
Bye.